In a rare and revealing interview that has music aficionados worldwide reaching for their headphones, the notoriously private John Paul Jones, legendary multi-instrumentalist and the oft-described secret weapon of Led Zeppelin, has allegedly shared his personal selection of the 3 Zeppelin compositions that stand as his favorites from the band's formidable catalog. The soft-spoken virtuoso, who has largely avoided the spotlight since the group's dissolution following drummer John Bonham's death in 1980, has surprised fans and critics alike with this unprecedented glimpse into his personal relationship with the music that defined a generation and forever altered the rock landscape. The interview, reportedly conducted in Jones's private home studio during what was intended to be a discussion about his orchestral compositions, took an unexpected turn when the conversation drifted toward his Zeppelin legacy. What followed was a thoughtful and nuanced reflection on the band's musical achievements that has since electrified social media platforms, with both professional musicians and devoted fans dissecting his choices and the insights behind them. Music historians are calling this revelation particularly significant given Jones's historical reluctance to dwell on his Zeppelin past, preferring instead to focus on his diverse post-Zeppelin musical endeavors. John Paul Jones revealing his favorite Zeppelin tracks is like Salieri naming his favorite Mozart compositions, remarked one prominent music critic. When someone who helped create that magnitude of musical innovation tells you which pieces resonated most with him personally, you're getting a masterclass in rock composition. Indeed, Jones's selections offer fascinating insight into the musical DNA that helped create one of the most influential rock bands of all time, particularly from the perspective of its least publicly visible member. 1. 10 Years Gone. The emotional tapestry. In what many Zeppelin scholars found to be a surprising but revealing choice, Jones named the intricate and emotionally layered 10 Years Gone from the band's 1975 double album, Physical Graffiti, as his favorite Led Zeppelin composition. 10 Years Gone represents everything I loved about what we could create together, Jones reportedly stated, his typically reserved demeanor softening with evident fondness. It's a perfect balance of complexity and emotion, technical prowess and pure feeling. Jimmy Page came in with this gorgeous melancholy guitar figure, and the piece just blossomed from there into something truly special. Jones explained that the song's elaborate arrangement, featuring Page's overdubbed guitar orchestra of approximately 14 separate parts, presented exactly the kind of musical puzzle he most enjoyed solving during his Zeppelin years. My role was often to find the spaces between Jimmy's guitars and John's Bonham thunderous drumming, to create a harmonic bridge that tied everything together while still allowing Robert's plant vocals to soar above it all. The bassist revealed that the recording sessions for 10 Years Gone were among his fondest studio memories with the band. We spent days getting those guitar layers just right, and I remember sitting at the mixing desk with Jimmy, both of us completely absorbed in finding the perfect balance. There was a sense of creating something truly majestic, something that transcended the typical rock format. Music scholars have long noted the exceptional complexity of 10 Years Gone, with its seamless transitions between delicate, almost pastoral sections and powerful driving passages. Jones's bass work on the track is particularly praised for its melodic sensitivity and the way it anchors the composition's elaborate architecture without drawing attention away from its emotional core. What makes 10 Years Gone special to me is that it captures something quintessentially Zeppelin, Jones reportedly added. It's simultaneously intimate and epic, technically demanding yet emotionally direct. Not many bands could pull that off without it feeling forced or pretentious, but somehow, the 4 of us found that balance naturally. 2. The Rain Song, the orchestral masterpiece. For his second selection, Jones chose The Rain Song, the sweeping, almost symphonic composition from 1973's Houses of the Holy, that remains one of the band's most ambitious departures from straightforward rock. The Rain Song was perhaps the first time I felt we'd truly created something that could stand alongside classical compositions in terms of emotional depth and structural sophistication, Jones allegedly stated. Jimmy came up with that beautiful guitar tuning, and it immediately suggested this lush, orchestral approach that appealed to my background in arrangement. Jones revealed that his classical training, often overlooked in discussions of Zeppelin's sound, found its fullest expression in pieces like The Rain Song. Before Zeppelin, I'd spent years doing string arrangements for everyone from the Rolling Stones to Dusty Springfield. With The Rain Song, I could bring that sensibility to bear within our own music, using mellotron and piano to create these sweeping, string-like passages. The multi-instrumentalist described how the song's structure, flowing through multiple movements like a classical piece, particularly satisfied his compositional instincts. It follows this perfect emotional arc, from the gentle, almost plaintive opening through to the cathartic middle section. Then, that gorgeous, peaceful resolution. It's more like Debussy than Chuck Berry, and I mean that as the highest compliment to both. Jones reportedly takes particular pride in how the Rain song showcases the band's often overlooked subtlety and dynamics. People remember us for the thunderous moments, Whole Lotta Love, Kashmir, rock and roll, but I've always been equally proud of our quieter, more nuanced work. The Rain song demonstrates that Led Zeppelin wasn't just about volume and swagger. We could create moments of genuine beauty and delicacy. Music theorists have often pointed to the Rain song as evidence of Led Zeppelin's sophisticated understanding of harmonic movement and structural development, aspects that separated them from many of their hard rock contemporaries. Jones's appreciation for the piece highlights his role as the band member most attuned to these classical elements of composition. George Harrison once told Jimmy that we should write a ballad, Jones reportedly recalled with a smile. Jimmy took that suggestion and ran with it, and the result was this extraordinary piece that still moves me every time I hear it. There's a timelessness to the Rain song that transcends genre entirely. 3. No Quarter. The Progressive Experiment. Completing his trio of favorites with perhaps his most personal Zeppelin showcase, Jones selected the atmospheric, keyboard-driven No Quarter from 1973's Houses of the Holy as his third most cherished Zeppelin composition. No Quarter holds a special place for me because it grew directly from a keyboard figure I'd been experimenting with, Jones reportedly explained. It allowed me to step from the shadows and help define the atmosphere of a Zeppelin track from its very inception, which wasn't always the case given Jimmy's prolific writing. Jones described how the song's eerie, almost cinematic quality emerged from studio experimentation with his acoustic and electric piano parts. We ran the electric piano through all sorts of processing to achieve that murky, underwater quality. There was a lot of trial and error involved, but when we hit on that sound, we all knew immediately it was right. It created this otherworldly landscape that perfectly complemented Robert's lyrics about Vikings and Norse mythology. The bassist or keyboardist expressed particular satisfaction with how No Quarter evolved in live performance, becoming a centerpiece for extended improvisation that showcased the band's jazz influences. In concert, No Quarter became this living, breathing entity that was never played the same way twice. Some nights my keyboard solo would last 5 minutes, other nights 15. The audience never quite knew what they were going to get, and neither did we, really. Jones reportedly finds vindication in how No Quarter has grown in stature over the decades, with many latter-day critics and musicians citing it as evidence of Zeppelin's progressive rock credentials. At the time, we were sometimes dismissed as being too loud, too heavy, too commercial by the progressive rock community. But pieces like No Quarter demonstrated that we could create complex, atmospheric music that didn't follow conventional rock structures at all. The multi-instrumentalist noted with evident satisfaction how the song has influenced generations of musicians across genres, from progressive metal bands to electronic music producers. I still hear elements of No Quarter in contemporary music, that combination of heaviness and atmosphere, of traditional rock instruments processed through experimental production techniques. It was quite forward-thinking for 1973, I think. Live recordings of No Quarter showcase Jones's versatility, with his extended piano improvisations drawing from classical, jazz, and blues traditions. These performances have been particularly celebrated by musicians for demonstrating how a keyboard instrument could hold its own against Page's guitar heroics in a live rock setting. No Quarter represents the experimental side of Zeppelin that too often gets overlooked, Jones reportedly concluded. We were constantly pushing ourselves to try new sounds, new structures, new approaches. When people reduce us to just a heavy blues rock band, I think of pieces like No Quarter that defy that simple categorization. The unexpected omissions, perhaps as revealing as Jones's. Selections were the Zeppelin classics, notably absent from his list. When gently pressed about the omission of the band's most commercially successful tracks, Jones allegedly offered a wry smile and a candid assessment of his relationship with the band's biggest hits. "Stairway to Heaven is a magnificent composition, and I'm immensely proud of my contribution to it," he reportedly stated. But when you've played something thousands of times and heard it millions more, it's human nature to be more drawn to the deeper cuts, the pieces that haven't been played to death on radio for 50 years. Similarly, Jones acknowledged the greatness of Kashmir, often cited by Page and Plant as the quintessential Zeppelin track, while explaining why it didn't make his personal top 3. "My orchestration on Kashmir is some of my best work with the band, no question. But the pieces I've chosen represent more completely the aspects of our music that resonated most deeply with me personally. The emotional complexity, the structural sophistication, the room for subtlety and nuance." These comments offer intriguing insight into the sometimes overlooked distinction between a musician's most celebrated work and their most personally meaningful createe.